He was a living legend, the man who conquered the entire martial world using only his fists, until he was betrayed and cowardly killed. But death was not the end. He was reborn, only in the body of the family's trash. A useless young master, addicted and despised by everyone, who was being poisoned by his own servants. What no one expected, that inside this fragile body now lives the soul of the Fist King. From sickly to absolute monster, he will return home, humiliate the arrogant brothers, and crush the traitors who tried to take what is his. The true owner has arrived, and the beating will be legendary. Stay with me until the end to see this brutal revenge. A devastating lightning bolt tears through the skies and strikes the ground with violence, illuminating the darkness and announcing the destructive power that is at play. That man possessed a legend. The title of King of Fists was given to the one who subdued the entire Jianghu using only the strength of his bare hands. His fame was so overwhelming that he was known and called by that imposing title far more frequently than by his own name. There stood Dan Woosung, our protagonist, the legendary King of Fists. Wounded and exhausted under the rain, he brings his hand to his head, feeling the weight of the endless battle. The body reaches its limit. He groans in pain, while coughing violently, seeing his own blood stain his trembling hands in the darkness. Surrounded by the bodies of fallen enemies, he analyzes the chaotic scene, recognizing that he has fallen into an ambush set by a mysterious group. With his face drenched by the rain and marked by tension, he takes a deep breath and focuses, for he realizes that the situation is now one of life or death. From afar, someone looks at him at the bottom of the stone crater. Among the many opponents already defeated, he focuses his attention on what is yet to come. At the top of the cliff, imposing, only those two remain. The swordsman and the woman with the fan observe the chaos below with complete coldness. The man displays an arrogant and confident smile, while the woman hides her face behind the fan, both emanating a dangerous, murderous intent. Meanwhile, the King of Fists keeps a fixed and suspicious gaze, for he is intrigued by the abilities of those two, questioning where they came from. Woosung kicks a body violently toward the swordsman, saying that he is returning his subordinate right now. In that brief moment, the subordinate begs for help from the sword demon, revealing the terror before his own leader. Without any mercy, the blade comes down fast and lethal. Blood splashes violently into the air, silencing the cry for help with a brutal cut. The lifeless body falls heavily onto the wet ground. Woosung watches the discarded corpse, processing the cruelty of that vile act before his eyes. Woosung realizes the nature of the enemy, someone who cuts down his own ally without hesitation and fights dirty. The coldness in the swordsman's gaze reveals his soul. Upon noticing the symbol engraved on the sword and the brutality displayed, it clicks. Woosung frowns and murmurs, recognizing who he is facing. With certainty stamped on his face and his voice loaded with tension, he confronts the assassins directly, confirming that they are from the demonic faction. The enemy leaps toward our boy. His voice echoes in the darkness, admitting to being truly impressed with the so-called King of Fists. The swordsman praises his endurance, saying that he deserves the title, but Woosung, fed up with the hypocrisy, abruptly interrupts him, telling him to shut his mouth. The King of Fists, with fury stamped on his face, makes a deadly promise. He declares that he will end the enemy's life in just 10 attacks. The sword demon smiles, finding that audacity amusing. With a sadistic look, he responds by calling Woosung arrogant for making such a threat. He advances with a devastating attack of dark energy. As the blade cuts through the air, he shouts that he wants to see how long that arrogance will last. The clash is violent and immediate. Blue lightning collides against the purple aura of the sword, creating a whirlwind of power as they exchange deadly blows. But something surprises the assassin. Woosung breaks through the defense with explosive speed, leaving the swordsman stunned and without time to react to the impact. The swordsman is shocked by the speed as he spits blood. The first blow connects brutally, and Woosung begins the fatal count, saying, 1. Without giving any respite, Woosung's fist shines, charged with electricity. He prepares the next devastating punch and coldly announces the number 2. The sequence is merciless. Fists fly like lightning, striking the enemy repeatedly as the count advances. 3, 4, 5, and 6. On the 9th blow, our boy notices something strange. His attacks miss the target, and he feels a mysterious force restraining him, preventing his reaction. The cause of that restraint comes from above. At the top of the rock, the woman with the fan watches the fight, controlling the flow of the battle with her threads of energy. Woosung realizes the trap too late. The woman manipulates the threads with a sadistic smile, binding him completely in her web of invisible energy. Immobilized, he becomes an easy target. The swordsman takes advantage of the opening and drives the blade into his chest, making blood gush violently into the rain. The impact is devastating. The King of Fists coughs up thick blood, feeling life drain away as a sharp pain runs through his entire wounded body. The assassin approaches, looking into his eyes. With contempt, he decrees that that moment marks the definitive end of the reign of the King of Fists. The swordsman's gaze remains focused and merciless, coldly awaiting the exact instant when the light in his prey's eyes will go out forever. But the impossible happens. Woosung closes his fist and shatters the threads that held him. The enemy chokes in shock, seeing the blue aura explode with raw power. Panic takes over the assassin. Damn, he thinks, feeling the crushing pressure of that attack, and that if he does not dodge he will die in that place. After the explosion of energy, the dust settles and we see the swordsman and at his side the apparently lifeless body of his opponent. Catching his breath, he is forced to admit that he underestimated the opponent's endurance. Keeping his distance, he completes the thought with an ironic compliment, shouting that the King of Fists is, in fact, very good at fighting and surviving. The woman comments sarcastically that that was dangerous. She mocks her partner, reminding him that he is only alive now thanks to her precise intervention. The assassin bows with a sadistic smile, mocking the situation. He points his finger and begins to dictate how the King of Fists should die, but he speaks too soon. With one last breath of strength, a brutal right punch connects under the swordsman's chin, throwing his head back. The impact is dry and violent. As the shock deforms the enemy's face, Woosung fulfills his final promise and whispers the number 10. The swordsman is pushed back, cursing in pain. Woosung's strength finally runs out, and he accepts that his life as the King of Fists ends there. Fallen to the ground and without energy, blood runs from his lips. He lets out a weak sigh, feeling life leave his physical body for good. His eyes grow heavy and slowly close in the darkness. In his final moment of consciousness, a single regretful desire crosses his mind. It is not fear of death, but the frustration of a born warrior. His only final regret is not having managed to hit that damn bastard one more time. Thus the legend falls. The great Dan Woosung dies at the hands of the demonic faction, while crows fly over the scene marked by blue energy. Far from that bloody battle, calm reigns elsewhere. At the Jinhua Mountain safe house, the day seems to go on calm and serene. A crow lands on the window cawing loudly, breaking the silence of the room where a child sleeps, unaware that fate has just been sealed. Someone's consciousness slowly returns, dissipating the darkness. His blurred vision tries to focus on the light as he wakes up dazed. As his sight clears, the face of a woman appears. She watches him with clear concern and asks hesitantly if the master is feeling well. Still lying down and looking at the unfamiliar wooden ceiling, the confusion is total. He frowns and murmurs, asking where the hell he is. He looks around, noticing the furniture of the room. When checking his own body, he internally questions whether someone treated his mortal wounds. Suddenly he sits up in bed on impulse, holding his throbbing head. The abrupt movement and the groan of pain frighten the woman beside him. He pats his chest and realizes, shocked, that there is no wound at all. The servant interrupts the thought, offering water to the first young master. He accepts the offer, but his mind freezes on that specific term. Why would that woman be calling him first young master now? The doubt grows as he looks at the mirror on the table. He stares at the reflection of a long-haired youth, not understanding why that face is his. He brings the bowl to his lips and takes a sip, trying to process the madness. That pale and young face definitely does not match his memory. The reality of the absurd hits him head-on. The shock is so great that he spits the water out in a sudden spray, startling the servant with his reaction. He pulls at his face in desperation, swearing it must be a disguise. But finding no seams, panic hits. That is not a mask, it is his own skin. The servant, frightened by the young master's outburst, runs out of the room in panic, screaming in terror that she urgently needs to fetch a doctor. Alone, he touches his face, incredulous. The texture of the skin and the delicate features make no sense for the brutal warrior he used to be. The door slams shut loudly. Outside, the girl sighs in relief at escaping, thinking to herself that the master is especially bizarre today. He tries to reason in the silence of the room. The demonic faction would not do this. If they had such power, they would have already dominated the entire Jianghu easily. A cruel doubt remains. He stares at the hand mirror, analyzing that stranger, and asks himself who the hell is the original owner of that weak body. Without easy answers, he decides that lamenting is useless. I'll have to find out, he thinks, determined to test the physical limits of that new body. He begins to move, attempting basic martial arts stances. He tries to feel the flow of energy and test the strength of that body's limbs. The result is pathetic. He collapses, panting, feeling like a newborn deer. That body is so bad that it trembles with weakness from the slightest effort. He sits at the table, irritated and sweaty. The final verdict is discouraging. That body is absolute trash, completely unfit for any real combat. He looks at the table and focuses on a document. The name Yunha Merchant Group catches his attention, because he vaguely remembers having heard of it before. It was a huge group near Jinhua Mountain. If even he who lived only for fighting had already heard of it, their influence must have been gigantic. He continues reading the envelope to be sure. The recipient of those correspondences was someone called Lee Jin-Eon, heir to the merchant group. The truth reveals itself clearly. The original owner of that weak and unknown body is none other than the eldest son of the family, Lee Jin-Eon. Upon opening the letters, the content is shameful. It is just people asking for money, gambling debts, and women demanding visits. A life of pure futility. He puts a hand to his face, disgusted. What a loser, he thinks. The letters confirm that that boy was nothing more than useless, addicted trash. He stares at his own hand, analyzing the skin. It is not sorcery nor a mask, and there is no strange energy. Only one logical explanation remains for all of this. The image of the former King of Fists appears behind him like a distant memory. He finally connects the dots and questions the impossible. Reincarnation. He lets out a deep sigh, sitting at the table trying to digest the madness. I must have lost my mind, he murmurs, finding it hard to accept this new reality. Suddenly the door is flung open with a bang. Someone barges into the room shouting, "First young master," abruptly interrupting his thoughts. Dr. Gong Sun Myung rushes into the room in panic, grabbing his pulse and shouting "Young master," as if the world were about to end. The protagonist pulls back, staring at that strange old man with total distrust. Who the hell is this? He thinks, bothered by such intimacy. The old man cries crocodile tears while checking the pulse, saying that he was dying of worry upon hearing that the master was not well. He forcefully pulls his arm back, cutting off the contact. With a cold gaze, he warns that he is fine and does not need concern, pushing the clingy doctor away. The doctor smiles in relief and changes the subject, announcing that he prepared the usual meal. He orders them to bring the food to the young master. The steaming bowl is placed in front of him. It is a chicken and turtle soup, which the doctor swears is great for revitalizing his weak body. But upon smelling the dish, his gaze darkens. That bastard, he thinks, that soup rich in energy is pure poison for someone sick like him. He stares at the doctor with hatred, realizing the trap. The pulse check was not concern, but rather surprised that he was healthy enough. The old man smiles like a treacherous snake, insisting that that soup will make him as strong as the youths of the Dragon and Phoenix competition. Upon hearing the name of the tournament, he asks a crucial question about how long it has existed. The doctor, confused, answers, about 200 years. He dismisses the doctor with a calm gesture, claiming to have no appetite and asking to leave the soup there, avoiding taking the poison now. The doctor tries to insist, but he pushes him out, ordering him to leave. He warns that he wants to sleep again and does not want to be woken up. Alone and leaning against the door, he sighs in relief. He begins to calculate the time based on the date of the Dragon and Phoenix competition. While tying his hair, he concludes that not much time has passed since his original death. That realization brings him a certain relief. The memory of his assassins emerges in the rain. If the time is short, it means that the demonic faction is still alive and active out there. But the danger is not only far away. He thinks about the snake doctor and realizes that he is surrounded by people who urgently deserve a beating. He snaps his fingers and stretches his wrist with a fierce look. Don't worry, you rotten bastards, he thinks with determination. With his hands together and a murderous gaze, he makes the final vow. And he says that this time he will kill them all using only a single punch. Some time passes and a banquet is served and shines under the light. Skewers of meat and plentiful dishes wait to satisfy the insatiable hunger of one who needs to grow. The maids whisper in the corners, shocked. The young master, who before barely touched the porridge, now devours mountains of food without hesitation. The body reacts to the effort. He wipes the sweat from his forehead, feeling his muscles burn after the training, satisfied with the visible physical progress. He enters the room still shirtless, displaying the new form. Upon seeing the table ready, he praises the maid for the speed, eager for the reward. As he passes by her, he gives the order firmly. No exaggerated banquets in the future, only simple and straightforward meals like that one. The maids look at each other discreetly, whispering between giggles. It is impossible not to notice how the first young master has become healthier and more virile. He attacks the food with relish, filling his mouth. But the peace lasts little. The sickly sweet voice of Dr. Gong Sun Myung emerges, spoiling the moment. The joy of the meal disappears. With the spoon stopped in the air and the sharp look of irritation, he takes a deep breath before ordering the old man to come in. The doctor enters the room with heavy steps and a suspicious look. He passes by the maids, bringing with him that atmosphere of falseness. Our boy takes offense internally at the lack of manners. How rude, he thinks, staring with a mocking smile of someone who knows exactly what he is doing. The doctor opens a forced smile and extends his hand, calling the master with an excessive intimacy that sounds false and exaggerated. He observes the crawling old man with disdain. With a dark smile, he decides that it is time to play cat and mouse with that snake. Drinking his tea calmly, he questions the doctor coldly. The old man freezes, sweating cold and stuttering before that unexpected posture. The doctor makes up excuses about loneliness, but inside he despairs. Upon seeing the master's health, he realizes that his poison failed. The master smiles faintly, repeating the word effort with a sarcastic tone that makes the old doctor's blood freeze in his veins. With a penetrating gaze, he questions whether that so-called effort of the doctor was trying to seduce him using that always poisoned soup. The old man freezes, caught red-handed. The silence in the room becomes heavy and suffocating as the master stares at him, knowing everything. Desperate, the doctor tries to step back, swearing up and down that there was a misunderstanding and that the soup is just a vital tonic. The young master smiles innocently, dropping the bomb lightly. "Oh really? I could swear that was deadly poison." The old man screams in total panic, appealing to his authority as personal physician, trying to hide the terror he feels now. The doctor, feeling the weight of the atmosphere, made a move to leave. He declared that, if his presence was not welcome, he would depart immediately without hesitation. Before he could leave, the authoritative voice stopped him, calling out to Dr. Gong's son. The old man froze, breaking into a cold sweat, and replied with a nervous stutter. With a penetrating gaze, the young man questioned the audacity of entering and leaving without permission, intimidatingly asking whether the doctor thought he was the master there. The doctor was paralyzed in pure terror. His eyes widened and sweat poured down, overwhelmed by the immediate fear in the face of that sudden pressure and authority. The tension dissolved when the young man laughed, saying it was just a joke. The doctor, relieved but still trembling, forced a nervous laugh to go along with it. Returning to business, he ordered them to bring the table materials to send a letter. The doctor promptly agreed, going to fetch what was needed. While eating, he said that he would dictate the text. The doctor, already with the brush in hand, respectfully confirmed that he was ready to write the dictation. The doctor began to record the words. Due to the severe illness of Sir Lee Jin-Eon, it would be necessary for him to remain secluded in the village for some time. The text continued with a peculiar tone, saying that, since that life was stubbornly long, he requested advice on what he should do next. Noticing the pause, the young man stared at him with a sharp look. He coldly questioned the reason the old man was not writing exactly those words. The doctor froze, understanding nothing. He raised his eyes and tried to question the master, completely confused about the bizarre direction that conversation was taking. The answer was a sudden attack. Something cut through the air violently, passing close by the old man's face and interrupting his speech instantly. The doctor froze, feeling the skin of his neck burn. Cold sweat ran down as he realized that, by a hair's breadth, he had not lost his life at that exact moment. With an icy gaze, the young man warned, he was no longer the Lee Jin-Eon of the past. That declaration made it clear that the former submission had ended. Cowering and trembling with fear, the doctor tried to play dumb. He stuttered, asking what the hell the master meant by that threat. Ignoring the old man's terror, the young man pointed to the table. Calmly, he began the explanation, citing first of all the famous dragon, phoenix soup. He explained that it was a tonic for the healthy but poison for the sick, and he accused the old man, saying that a doctor should know that very well. The farce collapsed. The memory surfaced of the doctor's malicious smile, who took pleasure in seeing the sick young man's energy become a complete mess. The young man exposed the truth. He knew that the old man had secretly checked his pulse, shocked that he was inexplicably still alive and breathing until now. With a sharp look, the young man prepared the final blow. Holding the spoon, he announced seriously that there was one even more important point to be revealed now. The young man, who was sleepy, ordered everyone to leave, asking to set the tonic aside. The maid obeyed in silence, finally leaving him alone with the old doctor. Staring at the old man, he went straight to the point. With a cold voice, he stated that the doctor could no longer even hide his clear murderous intent at that moment. The doctor widened his eyes, caught by surprise. The mask of innocence fell as he realized that his plan had been completely exposed there. Knowing that he was not acting alone, the young man ordered with authority, the old man should write in the letter the name of who had really ordered his death. The old man tried one last victim-playing move. With a trembling voice, he asked how the master could suspect someone as kind and dedicated as him. A long sigh escaped the doctor. He covered his face, tired of pretending, while the young man's gaze remained fixed and relentless on him. A sinister and macabre smile appeared on the old man's face. The sigh was not remorse, it was merely preparation to reveal his truly rotten nature. The young man noticed that his true intention had surfaced. He lamented, with disdain, having tried to offer a dignified way out to someone so foolish and vile. The doctor's mind was already plotting a brutal plan. He decided there was no other way, he would kill all the servants of the house to silence the witnesses. With a murderous gleam, he drew a hidden needle. Mockingly calling the master, he prepared to attack and end it using force. The old man's attack was useless. With a quick movement and red energy, the young man intercepted the blow brutally before he could even be hit. The impact was devastating. The doctor's face deformed under the raw force, and blood splattered violently as life drained from his eyes. The body collapsed onto the table with a crash. Calmly, the young man held his food and coldly scolded the corpse for having been distracted during the conversation. He bit into the meat voraciously. He completed the sentence naturally, reminding the dead man that he was still in the middle of his important speech. Rubbing his aching hand, he looked at the dead man. He complained about the pain, realizing with disgust how weak and pitiful that current body was. Staring at his trembling hand, he set an immediate goal. He needed to recover his strength as quickly as possible to ensure his survival. Once he regained his power, nothing would stop him. He thought that even if the entire Yunha merchant group were the mastermind, it would not matter in the slightest. Planning the next steps, his expression hardened. He decided that, upon returning to the group, the priority would be to thoroughly investigate who Gong Sun Myung was. Suddenly his body failed. He staggered forward, almost falling onto the table, as sudden dizziness hit him and a groan of pain escaped. He grabbed his forehead, confused and breaking into a cold sweat. The sharp pain pulsing in his head caught him by surprise, making him question the origin of that migraine. A sudden call snapped him out of the trance. The shout of "Sir!" echoed, bringing his eyes back to reality with a shock of recognition. Before him, the figure of Gong Sun Myung materialized. The name echoed in his mind, confirming the identity of the man he needed to investigate. Denial arose instantly in his thoughts. He watched the scene in disbelief, murmuring a "no" as he tried to process what he was seeing. Like a shattered mirror, Jin-Eon's memories invaded his mind. Fragments of a past that was not his began to surface forcefully. The revelation finally fell into place. He understood that that body belonged to the first son of the powerful and influential Yunha merchant group. The comparison was cruel and inevitable. He did not possess the strategic intelligence of the second brother, nor the overwhelming brute strength of the third son. The truth was painful. He was merely the incompetent eldest son, an existence marked by lack of talent and constant disappointment. He tried to fill his inner emptiness with wealth, but instead of respect, he ended up sinking deep into a futile life of pleasures and vices. His conscience weighed heavily when clarity arrived. At the moment when he finally realized the gravity of his mistakes and tried to change the course of his life, fate had already been sealed. The sad reality fell upon him. His efforts at redemption came when it was already too late for everything. He was exiled to this village precisely for neglecting his health. He knew well that the main clan would not care in the slightest about that forgotten place. The greatest initial obstacle was having reincarnated without the original memories of the body, which left him navigating in the dark in that new life. But now, with the path clear and his mind lucid, he could finally focus on what mattered, dedicating himself entirely to martial arts. It was infuriating how that talented body had been wasted. With his old knowledge and a few elixirs, he would recover his power soon. Suddenly, he froze in the middle of his reasoning. A sudden realization interrupted his thoughts as he looked at his own hand. His eyes shone as they focused on the gold coins on the table. The word, elixirs, echoed, connecting the money to the solution he needed. A confident smile appeared on his face. After all, the only thing he had in abundance was money, and there was nothing that could not be bought. Returning to reality, he looked at the dead doctor on the table. All right. Before spending the fortune, he needed to get rid of that corpse there. Time flowed quickly in the isolated village. The seasons changed, the flowers fell and bloomed again, marking an entire year of seclusion and training. After that time, one day someone appeared before the maids in the courtyard. With a light and casual smile, he let out a simple hello to the girls. At the gate, Mok Inseop from the guard squad appears. He respectfully asks where to find young Master Jin-Eon to deliver a letter. The maid points the direction without hesitation. With a light smile, she informs the guard that the master is right over there, indicating the path for the visitor to follow. The guard freezes when he looks in the indicated direction. His eyes widen in shock, and he stutters in disbelief upon seeing that figure meditating there in the courtyard. He doubts his own eyes. That muscular and sweaty man, exuding an aura of power, is that really the young Master Jin-Eon he knew before? Time passed quickly in the isolated village. Several seasons went by, taking away the old leaves and bringing a new cycle of intense training for him. During that period, he did not remain idle. His energy core finally awakened, allowing him to engrave vital martial arts into his body. He mastered mobility and the illuminated body. But the trump card was the white lightning art, which he had already successfully raised to the 4th phase. Sitting in meditation, he felt the power flow. Everything had gone exactly as planned, without any setback hindering his evolution. His body now responded with lethal precision. In an acrobatic leap, he challenged gravity, testing the limits of his new physical strength. A leaf slowly fell around him. With a subtle and swift movement, he used his own braid as a blade, cutting it in half in midair. Even sweaty and panting after the training, he was not satisfied. Ambition burned in his eyes as he murmured that it was not enough. His instincts warned him. A familiar voice called out to young Master Jin-Eon, making him turn his face immediately with a questioning look. It was Mach Inseop from the guard squad. He made a respectful salute, commenting that it had been a long time since their last meeting. The guard went straight to the point, delivering a letter from the main clan. Jin-Eon accepted the message coldly, agreeing with a simple okay. He extended his hand firmly, demanding the letter. His impatient posture made it clear that he had no time to waste on formalities there. The guard froze, shocked. He could not reconcile that strong man with the memory of the frail and sick young master he had known before. Impatience broke the silence. Jin-Eon complained that his arm would fall off from waiting so long, forcing the guard to snap out of his stupid trance. Finally, with the paper in hand, he sat down to read. The atmosphere grew heavy as he murmured, absorbing the contents of the message. The news was serious. His father had suddenly collapsed. Now bedridden and without explanation, the burden of leadership fell directly on Jin-Eon. But something was wrong. He frowned, noticing that the letter was strangely vague and did not explain the reason for his father's sudden illness. The guard averted his gaze, nervous. He began to stutter, indicating that there was an external and dangerous reason behind that sudden collapse. The blame lay with the Ouyang clan. They had abusively increased protection fees, creating unbearable financial pressure for the group. Jin-Eon listened attentively, but his expression was cold. He logically questioned whether that clan had done anything to deserve so much money. The answer was an outburst of outrage. The guard exploded, calling the rivals damn dogs who did nothing but bark and extort. The guard explained the humiliating situation. Even when the sect recently tried to impose ridiculous fees, the group found itself completely tied up. The Ouyang clan was even more arrogant. They said they would only deal with the main clan if the problem were serious, and simply did nothing. The helplessness was total. The guard captain could not even protest or raise his voice, because the man on the other side was none other than Ouyang Hu. His reputation preceded him. He was a well-known figure in the Jianghu, strong enough that even a simple guard knew his name. Jin-Eon understood the move. That man thought merchants were beneath him. So, would dealing with the Ouyang clan be enough to resolve all of this? The guard hesitated, nervous. He revealed that it would not be enough to deal with them, because there was another crucial and shameful reason for his father's sudden collapse. The scene was chaotic. His father did not merely fall ill, he collapsed after witnessing a violent sword fight between the second and third young masters. The image of the furious old patriarch came to mind. Jin-Eon concluded that it was not illness, but the pure anger caused by those brats that brought the leader down. It was unbelievable to fight in front of the leader. While the guard said that Jin-Eon would not be affected, he ignored it and was already planning his next move. His eyes narrowed with determination. He decided right then that he could not just sit and watch. It was time to intervene and take control. The guard stuttered, surprised by the closeness. Jin-Eon, imposing, simply handed the letter back, saying plainly for him to keep it. With a firm posture that intimidated, Jin-Eon declared his final decision. He did not need messengers. He himself would resolve the situation. His gaze left no room for doubt or protest. The cold determination in his eyes confirmed that he was ready to depart now. Back at the base, the guard could not contain his excitement. He slammed his hand on the table, shouting for everyone to hear that the young master had completely changed. Gesturing wildly, he described Jin-Eon's physique. He swore to his skeptical colleagues that the master was now a perfect and strong martial artist. But the audience did not buy the exaggerated story. One of the guards glanced sideways, with an expression of pure judgment and total disbelief at the account. Laughter burst out in the room. No one took seriously the idea that that useless and infamous young master was now some kind of warrior. The mockery was harsh. They jeered, suggesting that the only art that libertine could master were bedroom techniques and nothing more. The redhead continued the ridicule. He said that even inventing a girlfriend for the vice captain would be a lie easier to swallow than that one. The joke died in his throat instantly. A threatening shadow appeared behind him, and the silence of fear replaced the laughter in the same second. Han Yip, the vice captain, smiled with pure scorn. He remarked that the young master seemed to have recovered his health, but his tone exuded malice. He downplayed the feat, claiming that Jin-Eon had always had a good physique since childhood. Envy and disbelief overflowed in every one of his words. Violence exploded. Han Yip grabbed the guard by the hair, squeezing with brute force, and demanded to know exactly when that useless one would return. Groaning in pain under the cruel grip, the guard barely managed to speak. he warned with a trembling voice that young Master Jin-Eon had already arrived there. Han Yip released the man and turned to the group. With arrogance, he ordered everyone to go greet the useless one who paid their salaries. In front of the colossal gate, Jin-Eon stopped. The grandeur of the entrance to the Yunha merchant group rose imposing, a vision of pure power and wealth. The gigantic doors opened. He observed the internal structure, shocked and impressed by the absurd scale of the wealth of his new family. Walking through the courtyard, he reflected. He knew they were rich, but seeing that opulence up close confirmed that he had truly been born with a silver spoon. The maids ran to receive him. Focused, he dismissed the formalities and warned that he would see his father immediately, ordering them to go rest. While crossing the garden bridge, something caught his attention. His sharpened senses picked up a presence or detail that made him stop his step. Arriving at the place, he finds the silence strange. He looks around, bothered, questioning why there is no living soul there to welcome him. Suddenly, his keen hearing catches something. His gaze shifts as he notices a quick movement, realizing that he is not truly alone. In an instant, the silence breaks. Dozens of guards appear, firmly gripping their weapons and drawing their swords in perfect unison. Surrounded by sharp blades, young Master Jin-Eon remains unperturbed while they, with irony, congratulate him on his safe return. The encirclement tightens. The leader steps forward, introducing himself with authority as Han Yip, the vice captain of the guard, firmly blocking his path. Han Yip observes him with a malicious smile, noting the change. He comments in a challenging tone that the young master is almost unrecognizable now. While the vice captain feigns relief at seeing him healthy, Jin-Eon cuts through the falseness, coldly asking whether he has not even a shred of pride. Ignoring the tension, he remembers how they used to despise him, squeezing them until they made groans of pain. He keeps a sharp smile while holding them. His inner voice warns that he will be mocked again, but his expression shows that he does not care. Releasing them, he clasps his hands in a theatrical salute. He thanks them with a cynical smile for such an enthusiastic reception for a known troublemaker. The guards are left without reaction at his attitude. One of them, still hesitant, stammers and offers to guide him immediately to his father's quarters. As soon as he moves away, the shock explodes among them. No one believes that useless man greeted them, questioning the reality of that moment. Watching his back as he walks, the guards murmur. The change is so drastic that they feel they are guarding the house of a stranger. The vice captain does not take his eyes off him for a single second. He walks right behind him, studying each step, trying to decipher what changed in that man. A subtle smile appears on Han Yip's face. His warrior's intuition catches something different, an aura that did not exist before in the former master. As they walk toward the light of the gate, the perception changes. He no longer feels hostility coming from the young man, but rather the firm presence of an ally. Reaching the door, the guard informs him that the visit has already been announced to his father. With impressive calm, Jin-Eon simply thanks him for the kindness. Upon entering, he is greeted by a mocking voice. Someone was waiting for him inside, relaxed and with a cynical smile, ready to start the provocations. The man turns, analyzing him from head to toe with a theatrical look. He comments on the newcomer's appearance as if evaluating merchandise. Without asking permission, the man's heavy hand lands on Jin-Eon's shoulder. The touch is firm, almost a challenge, but the young master remains impassive. The mockery continues when the third son, Lee Ji-Eon, appears. With a crooked smile, he greets his brother by calling him a pervert right off the bat. Ignoring boundaries, Ji-Eon throws an arm over his shoulder. He observes Jin-Eon's serious face and comments, intrigued how he looks like another person. The silence is broken by a sharp gaze. Jin-Eon turns, staring him in the eyes, which makes the brother laugh and mock that sudden courage to look at him. The vice captain watches tensely, foreseeing disaster. In his mind, he already sees the scene repeat itself, the weaker brother being beaten as soon as he arrived. Trying to defuse the bomb, the guard intervenes quickly. He forces friendliness, commenting on how exciting it must be for the brothers to reunite. The attempt at peace is ignored. With a violent slap, Jaeon knocks the vice captain's hand away, coldly asking who gave him permission to touch him. The sound of the slap silences the room. The vice captain's face turns red, but it is the shock that paralyzes him, unable to process it. The shock gives way to rage. Feeling humiliated in front of the guard, he hardens his expression and snarls, accusing the vice captain of underestimating him. Then he asks if he should give him a lesson right now, while meanwhile our boy continues with a cold expression. But the threat dies in his throat. As he tries to react, he notices something terrible in Jin-Eon's posture, a pressure that makes him stammer and instinctively retreat. The answer comes without words. With a brutal and precise movement, Jin-Eon lands a devastating punch, crushing his brother's face in a violent impact. The punch connects brutally, deforming his face. The impact is so heavy that he cannot even close his mouth, his eyes rolling back in pure disbelief. The force of the blow throws him violently backward. In the background, the vice captain watches paralyzed, with an expression of shock, unable to process the scene. Jaeon falls to the ground, trembling and confused. Jin-Eon calmly adjusts himself and calls his brother's name, looming over him like a threatening shadow. Before he can recover, a hand reaches toward him. Jin-Eon approaches, commenting with cruel irony how much he had been looking forward to that reunion. The grip suddenly intensifies, almost crushing his shoulder. Jaeon grits his teeth in pain, feeling the crushing pressure of that merciless hand. Pulling him violently upward, Jin-Eon ignores the screams. In panic and pain, Jaeon thrashes and curses, calling his own brother a crazy bastard. Jin-Eon only smiles with a terrifying look. He mocks the insult and coldly corrects him. He should be addressing him respectfully as elder brother. Outside, the atmosphere is agitated. The sound of murmurs spreads among the guards surrounding the main courtyard, drawn by the sudden commotion. In the middle of the turmoil, Lee Hwayan appears. The second son arrives hurried and confused, trying to understand why so many guards are standing there. He adjusts his glasses, tense. His gaze fixes on the door ahead, realizing with horror that the disturbance is coming directly from his father's quarters. He demands immediate answers. The guard, nervous, explains that an intense fight broke out between the first and third young masters inside. Hwayan immediately assumes the worst. In his mind, he is certain that the younger brother is, once again, humiliating and assaulting the older brother. Indignant, he runs to intervene. He shouts at the guards for their inaction, desperate to save his fragile elder brother from that violence. He throws the doors open with a bang, calling for silence. But the words die in his mouth as soon as his eyes catch the surreal scene before him. It is not the elder brother who suffers. Jin-Eon is holding the other by the neck with ease, greeting Hwayan as if nothing were happening. The second son freezes in total shock. The image of the useless brother dominating the aggressor shatters all the logic he had known until that moment. Silence dominates the room. While the second brother calmly drinks tea, Jin-Eon remains standing, unpunished, while the bullying brother is on his knees on the floor. The man with glasses, with an indecipherable smile, breaks the silence. He calmly comments on the brother's return, while savoring his tea with elegance. His gaze falls upon the bizarre scene. Noticing Jin-Eon's firm posture, he observes with curiosity that his health seems to have improved greatly. Jin-Eon is not shaken by the scrutiny. With a calm expression and a piercing gaze, he coldly confirms that he is fully recovered now. Hwayan's attention drops to the hands. Our boy notices the white bandages and asks, suspiciously, if it was the third brother who caused that injury there. Jin-Eon waves his hand, downplaying the matter. Behind him, the younger brother trembles with fear, knowing that the cordial conversation is just a dangerous facade. Suddenly, violence explodes. Jin-Eon's hand connects with Jaeon's face in a brutal slap, sending blood flying with the force of the impact. While delivering a sequence of slaps, Jin-Eon teaches a grim lesson. He warns that raising a sword against the elder brother comes with a high price. The punishment ends, leaving Jaeon unrecognizable. With his face swollen, he can barely remain conscious, humiliated in front of his own family. Tears run down the deformed face. Physical pain is surpassed by shock, as he cannot accept that he was beaten by the brother he despised. The memory of a weak Jin-Eon surfaces in his mind. The brutal difference between that pathetic past and the current monster is simply terrifying. Hwayan cannot believe what he sees before him. He remembers how Jin-Eon used to just run away to avoid getting beaten, and now completely humiliated the younger brother. The atmosphere changes and Hwayan questions the drastic change, asking what happened in the hideout. Jin-Eon does not explain the details, only smiles and praises the brother's keen eye. Jin-Eon ignores others' curiosity and focuses on the objects on the table. His sharp gaze falls upon the stacked scrolls, analyzing them with interest. As he hands over the scroll, he clears up his brother's doubt. He calmly says that this is the list of staff members he will take to the conference scheduled for tomorrow. His finger runs over the names written on the paper attentively. He analyzes every detail of the staff list, searching for something very specific in those lines. A satisfied smile appears on his face as he reads. He wanted to investigate who recommended Gong Sun Myung, but realizes that the answer was already there, obvious the whole time. The signature on the recommendation reveals the culprit, Oh Yang-hu. The image of the traitor forms in his mind, confirming that he is the key piece behind that intrigue. With a brusque movement, he slams the scroll on the table to draw attention. He calls both brothers by name, demanding total focus on the conversation that will follow. His expression becomes dark and threatening. He issues a direct ultimatum, demanding that they immediately confess if either of them works for the Ouyang clan. Fear instantly takes over the room with the accusation. Hwayan turns pale and breaks out in a cold sweat, while Jin-Eon in the background raises his arms in total surrender. Jin-Eon observes their hesitation. He seems to take pleasure in the fear he imposed, waiting for any reaction. Indignation explodes in the room. Wyon shouts, offended by the insinuation, while Jaeyeon desperately agrees, calling the idea ridiculous. Wyon swears loyalty at the top of his lungs, preferring death to betrayal. In the end, fear speaks louder and he lets slip a respectful sir. The tension dissolves into a satisfied smile. Jin-Eon admits that he is glad to hear that because then he will not need to kill them right there. Changing the subject, he asks about the conference. Wyon, still shaken by the previous threat, merely confirms that everyone will be there. With a sharp look, Jin-Eon makes his final decision. Since all the leaders will be gathered, he announces that he will attend as well. Without waiting for a response, he turns his back to leave. The brothers, panicking at the sudden departure, shout asking where he is going now. Alone, confusion consumes the two brothers. They stare into the void, desperately questioning what the hell happened in the hideout. Regret explodes into shouts. Wyon grabs his hair, screaming that it should have been him who went to Jihua Mountain to train. In front of the leaders' quarters, the arrival is announced. Without hesitation, the voice from inside immediately orders them to let him enter. Upon entering the quarters, the dimness envelopes everything. The silence is heavy, and he walks slowly toward the bed where his father's frail figure rests. There lies Lee Seongmin, the leader of the Yunha merchant group. With a weak voice and tired eyes, he notices the presence and murmurs that his son has arrived. The old man asks about the noise he heard outside. Jin-Eon, maintaining a calm and respectful posture, lies gently, saying that it was nothing. Our boy mentions that he heard rumors about his stress. The old man vents that his own body can no longer bear the weight of the tension. With a trembling hand, he touches his son's face. His gaze is analytical. He notices the drastic change and asks, incredulous, if that really is Jin-Eon. The suspicion disappears into a gentle smile. Ignoring the differences, the father expresses only pure happiness and relief at finally seeing him well. Jin-Eon is stunned by the gesture. He touches his own face, feeling a deep strangeness, because that affection does not match what he expected. His mind travels to the past. He grew up an orphan, never knowing what it was like to have a father or feel family affection, always living in solitude. The memories of his previous life are cold and rainy. He was always a solitary survivor, hardened by the lack of bonds and by the harshness of life. However, while searching through the inherited memories of this body, a contrast emerges. In Lee Jin-Eon's memories, the figure of the father seems quite different. In the inherited memories, the father was an imposing and protective figure, a true unshakable mountain that held his hand against the storms. Now, in the present, he holds that same hand. The warm touch brings an immediate connection between the grand past and the fragile reality of the moment. As he observes the old man bedridden, a sudden sadness invades him. He wonders when that giant man became so small and fragile in the bed. He pushes away the dark thoughts and smiles at his father. With a firm and gentle voice, he assures him that there is no reason for concern, taking control. Squeezing the old man's hand with determination, he goes straight to the point. The cure is simple, just eliminate literally the cause of all that stress. The father is confused by the choice of words, murmuring without understanding. But Jin-Eon insists that he will resolve everything, asking only that he rest now. Jin-Eon displays a smile that does not reach his eyes. He reassures him, but behind the kind mask, the father notices something strange and dark in the expression. The next day dawns over the headquarters of the merchant group. The courtyard is calm, but the air vibrates with the silent tension of the confrontation to come. The conference begins in the great hall. The leaders and important members are gathered, seated in their places, awaiting the start of the discussions. Among them, Ouyang, who stands out, the head of the guard. With an arrogant smile and a relaxed posture, the traitor has no idea that his end is approaching. The whispers begin immediately. The guards recognize the figure, murmuring incredulously that the eldest son is there, participating in the conference. Jin-Eon remains seated, arms crossed and imposing. He ignores the stares, radiating a silent pressure that completely dominates the environment. The atmosphere in the hall is tense. While Wyon tries to read the report, everyone's attention shifts to Jin-Eon, questioning why he is present. Ouyang, who breaks out in a cold sweat, visibly nervous. He quickly realizes that the presence of the young master is a direct threat to his position in the group. Trying to maintain order, Wyon asks if anyone has a different opinion. He wants to move on with the agenda quickly to dissipate that strange atmosphere. The silence is broken when a hand rises. Jin-Eon utters a firm, "I do," freezing the meeting and drawing all eyes to himself. Ouyang, who cuts him off quickly with a fake smile. He suggests recommending a guard for Jin-Eon, trying to disguise his scheme as concern. The other members whisper, indignant. They know that the Ouyang clan already controls half of the group and see this as yet another dirty power play. The response is violent and immediate. Suddenly, something strikes that man's hand with force, causing the object he was holding to shatter into pieces. The The man turns pale, staring at the shards on the table. Ouyang, who merely smiles with scorn, apologizing and saying with irony that his hand slipped, but his eyes burn with rage. He accepts the provocation, maintaining the facade of civility in front of the other leaders. Silence reigns in the tense hall. Wyon tries to regain control, nervously asking if anyone else has something to say on the matter. Ouyang, who lets out a dry laugh, convinced that no one will challenge him. He prepares to close the topic, assuming an early victory, but Jin-Eon's voice cuts through the air again. He raises his hand with disdain, interrupting the traitor's speech and drawing everyone's attention. With a cold and penetrating gaze, he declares that he has complaints. The audacity of interrupting the head of the guard makes the atmosphere grow heavy in the room. He stands up slowly, imposing his presence. As he walks, he calmly warns that he would also like to make an official suggestion. His finger points directly at Ouyang, whose face. Without hesitation, he drops the bomb. The suggestion is to dismiss the head of the guard right now. Chaos sets in among the members. They murmur in shock, defending Ouyang, who and questioning Jin-Eon's sanity for attacking someone like that. The tension breaks with a thunderous laugh. Ouyang, who laughs uncontrollably, finding the young master's threat a ridiculous joke. The amusement ends and he leans forward with a murderous look. With scorn, he challenges Jin-Eon, asking if he really thinks he can dismiss him. With an arrogant tone, the elder tries to belittle the boy, claiming that he was bedridden for too long and no longer has a voice there. However, the only response he receives is a scornful smile. The young man faces the provocation coldly and asks if that is really it. Without wasting time on words, he attacks. His fist glows with intense energy, delivering a sudden blow that catches the opponent by surprise. The force of the impact is devastating, blasting the ground into pieces. A shockwave sweeps through the environment, hurling debris in all directions. When the roar ceases, only smoke and rubble remain. The silence that follows is heavy, marked by the display of power. Walking calmly over the destruction, he advances. The elder, once arrogant, now trembles before that crushing presence. Fear is visible on the man's face. The young man then retorts, saying that the old man must have forgotten something after gaining a bit of influence. He ends the discussion with a threatening look, making it clear who is in charge. The Yunha merchant group belongs to him and to no one else. And that's it, folks. This was today's episode. If you want the continuation, smash that like button and drop a comment down below. This way I'll know you enjoyed it and bring you the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. See ya.